think that consumers are the most aware they've ever been about how they consume protein and where their protein is coming from, that there's so much opportunity. It's a matter of how we continue to focus on executing on those opportunities, just because there's so much to be grabbed.
We're now selling Gardein in 22,000 supermarkets. From 5 years ago, we started with nothing.
We seriously underestimated how quickly we would grow.
Last year we had a 50% increase in sales, and we're going to do at least that this year.
Het Europees bedrijf dus vandaag, dus Alpro doet het heel goed, laten we duidelijk zijn. Wij groeien double digit. Wij hebben verleden jaar een zakencijfer gehad van een kleine 320 miljoen euro. 10 jaar geleden was dat toch amper 80 miljoen, dus we hebben verdubbeld in 10 jaar tijd.
In 5 years, it's my hope, 5 to 10 years will look a lot like a Tyson or Purdue in terms of relevance to the American consumer, in terms of providing protein for the center of the plate for American families, and market size and size and scope of operation. I don't see any reason why we can't do that, and I think it's needed.
I think the sky is really the limit for the cooking technology and know-how that Beyond Meat brings. So the Beyond Meat brand, we really consider ourselves as the next great meat company in 10 years from now.
So right now, the meat substitute is only about 1% of the meat. So I could see that in the next 10, 20 years, this is going to go to at least 10% of the protein consumption. And if that's the case, it's going to be $5 or $10 billion business. So there's great growth potential.
Ja, we zijn succesvol als je kijkt naar de groei. Hè. We zijn gegroeid in 3,5 jaar tijd van 1 naar 1200 verkooppunten nu. Financieel draaien we net kiet, hopen we, op dit moment. En als we verder gaan groeien, dan zullen we wat winst gaan maken. Maar je moet heel groot zijn, dat blijkt wel, om iets te kunnen verdienen. Onze producten zijn nog duur en ondanks dat maken we nog geen winst. Dat is de situatie. Ja. Maar het heeft de potentie op termijn om goedkoper te worden dan vlees. Als je kijkt, de machine die wij gebruiken, die past hier in het winkeltje. En voor dezelfde capaciteit van die machine, 1 miljoen kilo kip per jaar, heb je een megastal nodig zo groot als een voetbalveld. Je hebt maar de helft van de input nodig voor onze techniek. Maar het is alles een kwestie van schaal. Hè. De vleesvervangers hebben nu 2% van het vlees. Marktaandeel van het vlees. En doordat logistiek, productie kleinschalig is, is het nog zo duur. Maar op het moment dat we 10 à 20% van de vleesmarkt zouden hebben, zouden we al concurrerend zijn met het allergoedkoopste vlees.
And so if you can make that shift, that psychological shift, I think you can really make a massive impact. So in the developed world, it's really about changing the psychology around it so that people stop thinking about meat as being just from a cow or a pig, but think about meat in terms of what meat actually technically is: amino acids, fats, carbohydrates, minerals, and water. We can do all of that in the same form that they're currently consuming. It just comes from plants. So that's one shift that's occurred. Second, in the developing world, it's really around the price. And so if we can dramatically underprice meat, animal protein, and provide plant-based meat at a cost that's much lower, at a price that's much lower, I think people will make the shift.
An animal needs those muscles to live. There's not much you can do about animal muscle, right? Whereas we have the ability to recreate lots of different textures. We can add more protein than there is in animal protein. We can adjust the fat contents and make different fat contents. We can supplement with various vitamins that might be nutritionally beneficial to the consumer. So by recreating meat, of course you have a greater palette to play with than you do with just meat itself, which is a functional part of an animal. So I think there are a lot of ways we can go beyond meat.
Boerderij. En ik ben opgegroeid op een boerderij als 9e generatie op dat bedrijf. Opgegroeid tussen de koeien en de slachtstieren en akkerbouw. Dus ik ken de vleeshouderij van binnenuit. En zelf ook boer geworden en een groot vleesliefhebber. En vanuit die gedachte ben ik de vegetarische slag gestart. Omdat ik problemen had met de manier waarop we met dieren omgaan in de industriehouderij. En Ik heb gedacht dat zou anders moeten kunnen. Er zou een technische oplossing voor moeten kunnen komen om vlees te maken zonder dat daar een dier voor nodig is.
At the global environment today, I think there's two major trends, and it depends on where you're at in the world. In the developed world, the United States, North America, and Europe at large, the trend really is a reduction of meat consumption. Just under half of Americans today are reducing their meat consumption actively.
There's really a changing palette that's going on in America, and that plate is really changing with that palette. So what you're seeing is a more diversification. You're seeing environmentally and sustainable products that are really delicious that happen to show up on a plate. So Gardein fits well with that. Places like Veggie Grill, as you can imagine, we provide all their plant-based protein for them. The other one is great groups like Darden Restaurants, the largest restaurant conglomerate in the country. Their Yard House chain. If you go onto their menu, it's a completely branded Gardein menu. And this is a beer joint, 150 beers on tap. Really feels like a regular place, so that's terrific. Steve Wynn, all 22 of his his restaurants in his hotel in Vegas all have Gardein on the menu. Smaller, up-and-coming, trend, white tablecloth type restaurants like Crossroads with chefs like Tal Ronan who are bringing in Gardein and putting on the menu. So that's pretty amazing. And then lastly, what's really been cool is college and university segment. We're in over 60 colleges and universities, from Pac-12 schools to Ivy League schools to Big Ten, I guess is we have. So every major school, including places like you'd never expect, The Ohio State University, third largest school in the country, in the middle of the country, and one would say, why would they be interested in plant-based protein? Well, it's going where the trend in America and that plate is really moving towards, and we're seeing that.
I think texture and flavor. It has to hit all those sense points for the consumer when they put it in their mouth.
And in other international markets, the meat consumption is increasing rapidly. China, India, and ultimately places like Sub-Saharan Africa, meat consumption is rising so fast that we also believe that we could be a solution in those marketplaces as well.
In our experiments, we've created textures that aren't just raw meat textures. We've created bacons and jerkies and things that are really chewy and things that are softer, or forms of protein that aren't even meat. You can start to imagine places where there's lots of carbohydrates, replacing that with protein. So creating textured, good tasting plant protein has a lot of directions. Meat obviously is our challenge right now.
From a sensory standpoint, what can it deliver? Can it provide that same sort of flavor release in the mouth?
Right.
It's the intangibles that someone feels when they eat the product.
You combine different types of proteins to improve the overall texture and sensorial properties.
Our carrot lox, our version of smoked salmon, or chickpeas that we turn into our tuna-less tuna. So we're experimenting with all sorts of different bases to really give people those kind of reminiscent flavor hits of when they used to or might have never tried but wanted to try a meat item. But really turning the concept of eating meat on its head by offering a whole different way to conceive what is at the center of your plate.
Taste the yam. He's got a piece of yam for you.
A piece of yam. A piece of yam. I have to have yam. That's my all-time favorite.
Normally we do warm this up, but it is cooked. So even for no egg.
That's phenomenal. Wow. I'm not a vegetarian and I'm not a vegan, but
it works.
Here,
You know what?
just
It
looks
works.
magnificent,
Well,
but also tastes magnificent.
I'm just
Really
I'm
impressive.
sorry to be rude.
I think I would stop eating.
Also really popular is our tuna-less tuna. So we use chickpeas and we mash them up to make the base and also create the same flaky texture as tuna. And then we add all the seasonings you would add to a really kicked up tuna salad. So there's dill and capers and pickles and all the good stuff that you put in there. So it eats really nicely and it's a great kind of protein for your sandwich or for your wrap. And then one of the latest favorites of some of our customers is our Szechuan beef. So we kind of did our own take on Chinese takeout, and we use a protein that's made by another company that uses wheat and soy protein as the base, along with other plant fibers. So it creates a product that really tears like meat, really bites like meat, and has all those characteristics of beef. And then we prepare it in-house with a sauce and veggies that just like make you feel like you just grabbed a steaming container of takeout from your favorite Chinese restaurant. And many people who've come in here who are still eating meat or who used to eat meat actually prefer it. So that's the level of really taste that's available to people who may not choose to eat meat for any given meal, but still love that flavor and texture that it offers.
Everything in the store is amazing. I love having the freedom to just, to share my excitement with all the customers too. I'm very excited about working in a vegetarian butcher shop, and I love it.
So sometimes people go through our village, say, oh, there's a restaurant open, go inside, and they are not vegetarians, and they also not sometimes they don't know that they are vegetarian place. One of our main dishes is burrito. It's not typical Austrian, of course. We have here a bean chili with smoked tofu. And it comes on a burrito bread, and there we have Taiwan with a little stop in Germany. Okay. So, and there we have typical Austrian goulash. This is a beef substitute. And this really tastes very similar to the original. Yeah. This is our most similar dish ever. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then we prepare it.
I had sold my publishing business, retired, and I really wanted to move towards vegetarianism. And looked at the products that were on the market and brought them home and started cooking with them. And I went, oh my God, there's got to be a better way. So I started doing research and found a company that was willing to work with me. And I walk into this boardroom and there are like 15 people sitting there, and they're ready to grill me about what my thinking was and what I wanted to do. And I said, I just don't know, at the end, I don't know whether I can compete with, Kraft and Kellogg. They said, oh yeah, you can do it. You can do it. And they helped me. For 2 years, they assigned a team of professionals to help me. And that's how I got started. Once we had our formulas, I started buying equipment. I found a space to rent in a USDA meat packing plant and rented space there and just started making product alongside of it. I mean, it was a little difficult, but I had my eyes on the prize. I had to keep going. We outgrew that space, fortunately, and now we're in a USDA pizza manufacturing plant, and we manufacture our own pizzas. So we've come a long way, but that's how it started. I was actually doing the mixing myself, mixing and delivering. I would deliver. I would do everything, but those days are gone.
People around the world love meat, and the demand for meat is skyrocketing. But the way that we make meat today using animals is increasingly being recognized as the single biggest threat to the global environment. Impossible Foods has figured out a way to make uncompromisingly delicious and nutritious meats directly from plants without using animals, and with a tiny fraction of the greenhouse gas emissions, water requirements, and land use of making these same foods using animals. We started with what I regard as the most important problem in the world to solve. And it was a very difficult and challenging problem, and really inspiring to the people at the company. And that enabled us to to recruit the most innovative team of scientists and engineers and business people in the world. And that means that we'll be able to pass on a much better planet to our kids and grandkids.